Hey, this is Warren Sprouse. You're on the Bible Forum. It's Sunday night, November 19, 2017, and we are getting just a little bit late start. We've got some technical problems here. The camera died and some other things. We'll try to work through all that as time goes on. There have been a lot of issues, a lot of stuff, I guess you could say, that have popped up this week, things that I really would like to talk about. I've got some of them on the list and some of them are not on the list. That doesn't mean we will talk about them or that we won't. There's just more stuff than I really have time to cover. We've got an issue regarding the Global Prophetic Summit. I don't know if you're planning to attend the Global Prophetic Summit. It starts today, this weekend, runs for the next few days or so. We've got the Pope in the mix here. Someone has challenged the idea that the Pope is Catholic. And I thought it might be interesting just to take a look at that. And it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing, and yet there's some doctrine here that you really, really need to understand. The tax bill that the House of Representatives passed is now out there in the public where we can see it. We'll talk about that a little bit, try to help you understand some of the things that are going on there. Got a controversy brewing relative to praying in Jesus' name. And we all do that. I'm not sure we know why. So we'll look at some of that. We've got some prophetic fulfillment on the horizon. Some folks are making noises in this regard. Usually it's a little bit chaotic. We'll take a look at it, see what's happening. Babylon the Great. Some of you are futuristic nuts. You like eschatology. You like to get involved and see what is going on, Daniel, Revelation, those sorts of things. Well, now we've got folks who've entered into the fray to point at a huge city that is being planned in Saudi Arabia, and they're saying that is the biblical Babylon the Great. So we'll do a little eschatological browsing, theologically speaking, on that subject. Try to upload information in your world so that you understand. Where are you today on this issue of Roy Moore, Alabama former Supreme Court Justice, running for the Senate seat that was vacated as a result of the election? Just this week, the Southern Baptist Convention's Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission chairman, a fellow by the name of Russell Moore, we've talked about him in the past, he commented on the controversial situation. His opinion, not living in Alabama, I might add, but his opinion is that Roy Moore has to go. He says his testimonies of several women appear to be credible, so he's probably guilty of the things these women are accusing him. And for the sake of conscience, as well as for the state of Alabama, it would be best all around if he were to resign. Now, some of us wonder what happened to the old concept of innocent until proven guilty. We understand, listening, watching some of the things that are circulating around Roy Moore, that he did something. We're not sure what. Wonder why it's taken so many years, over 37 years, for these ladies to come forward. We've got issues like the signature on the yearbook way back when. That was the first thing that we were presented with. Now it's been demonstrated that he didn't actually sign that. You saw that on the news? His employee, his secretary, his agent, I don't know what the title is for this person, signed this, put these sentiments on the page and signed it, put her initials next to it so there would be no confusion. Judge Moore says that was standard procedure and that she had done that for years, apparently, or whoever was the person in that office. the attorneys involved are refusing to produce evidence. That's not all that unusual. They don't want to parade all that out in the public and then maybe have people knock it down before they ever get a chance to share it in court. But it's just interesting. The problem that Roy Moore has is that he's a conservative Republican. As long as he was a Democrat, apparently none of these things seemed to be much of a problem. But now that he's a Republican and he is supporting Donald Trump, everybody and their brother has got a problem with him. It just may be that he did these things back in a former life, in his 30s, but his life's testimony tells us that he has changed. We love those kinds of stories. We love stories of people who have renovated their lives, have made a difference over the years. And now, having come to Christ, having this tremendous, positive, conservative Christian testimony, he has to endure the revelations from people who appear to be truly injured, aggrieved, as it were, from many, many moons ago when life was different for him. We've watched this unfold in a number of cases, not the least of which was a former president by the name of Bill Clinton. And we were encouraged at that point to make sure that we understood the concept of forgiveness. Of course, we're wondering where all those people back then are and where they have been here for the last month as Judge Moore has been going through this, but you understand how it works. Israeli scientists are telling us that they actually have a cure for paraplegia. Yep. Israeli scientists at Haifa's Technion Israel Institute of Technology have successfully used human stem cells to help a paraplegic rat. They have helped these paraplegic rats regain some walking ability and sensory perception. I don't know the technical parts of it, but they've done some DNA thing and they've taken some human DNA, put it in there, some stem cells from human beings and so forth, and they are looking at the possibility in the future of being able to fix at least the rough edges, perhaps, of the paraplegia in human beings. They implanted engineered tissue fixed on a three-dimensional scaffold into the severed spinal cords of these test subjects. Contained within that tissue were human stem cells, which had been induced to support neural growth. And apparently it looks like it worked. Ain't science grand? It appears that the Cubans have invaded Venezuela. Breitbart is reporting that Cuba is fast becoming a poverty-stricken nation, again, still, yet, and yet she has sent more than 90,000 Cubans to Venezuela to help run the government. Now, some are calling this an invasion. Thousands of Cubans hold key positions in various Venezuelan government sectors, particularly in the national security and intelligence services used to monitor politicians, opposition members, business executives, and other population issues as a whole. So we need to pay attention. They are working to keep the socialist regime in power. You know, the one that actually destroyed their economy and probably their entire way of life. Yeah, they want to keep that. And they've got Cuba over there to help them do it. It's really a fascinating process. We've got people in this world. I'm one of them. On my driver's license, it has a little place there that if something were to happen, it would be good to donate my body parts to people who may have a need therefor. Well, now, if you have a fatal injury or a disease, you might be able to donate your head. Now, I'm a little confused on how this works, but the article talked about dedicating or donating your head to science before you die. Surgeons in China have successfully transplanted a human head. And the goal here is to transplant viable heads onto bodies of dying organ donors. Now, you get into the weeds on this. Here's somebody who knows they're going to die, maybe going to die soon. They're willing to donate their head today, which means they would die, so that someone else who is struggling with all sorts of incurable whatevers, or perhaps only one particular kind of whatever, that these people could have a little bit longer life. Oh, I know what it is. For the people who have donated their organs, they transplant the head onto that body to keep that body going long enough that they could harvest the organs for somebody else. You keeping up with this? It's a little strange, but it's under the heading of we're doing it because we can. A former executive at Google has filed paperwork with the Internal Revenue Service to establish an official religion of technology. This religion doesn't just worship scientific progress, but artificial intelligence itself, with the goal of creating a godhead. In their words, the new church of AI will aim to develop and promote the realization of a godhead based on artificial intelligence and through understanding and worship of the Godhead to contribute to the betterment of society. That's what they put in the IRS documents when they filed for nonprofit religious organization status. And it would appear, I don't know if they've got it yet, but I don't know why they wouldn't. The nonprofit organization would be called Way of the Future. WOTF. According to the website, the Way of the Future Church is about creating a peaceful and respectful transition of who is in charge of the planet, from people to people plus machines. The website explains, quote, given that technology will relatively soon be able to surpass human abilities, we want to help educate people about this exciting future and prepare a smooth transition. In recent years, we have expanded our concept of rights to both sexes, minority groups, and even animals. So let's make sure we find a way for our machines to get rights too. You want to look it up? pjmedia.com. Israel loves the Museum of the Bible. Reports are coming from Israel indicate that Israel is the star of the Bible Museum that has been recently opened in Washington, D.C., built by the Hobby Lobby people. It opened this past week. It's been an 8-year project, gathering artifacts, securing the financing, and building the museum. The journey, as you might imagine, has been something of a struggle. Hobby Lobby is unashamedly Christian, which makes it a pariah in so-called Christian America. According to its website, the Museum of the Bible promises to be, quote, an innovative global educational institution whose purpose is to invite all people to engage with the history, the narrative, and the impact of the Bible. It'll feature recreations of the Israelite temple, recreations, towns where Jesus walked, and many other displays and interactive features. The family behind this, the Greens, also noted that they have received criticism while working on this project, but they're not really strangers to criticism. The museum is set up to reflect on the Bible, not on any particular religious belief or sect. Its purpose is to introduce the Bible to folks who would probably never open one, let alone begin to understand what it's all about. Giving it context and exposure is enough. Steve Green concluded, we have the confidence that if we are true to pointing people to this book, true to the facts, we are confident that God will show up and He will impact people's lives. There's a picture of it on the website in the carousel. It's a huge building, downtown Washington, not far from the Capitol buildings and so forth, and apparently it's getting rave reviews. Over in the Middle East this week, the president of the Palestinian Authority, a fellow by the name of Mahmoud Abbas, was called unexpectedly to Riyadh. Riyadh is the capital city of Saudi Arabia. This happened about 6 to 10 days ago. He was called there by the office of the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. If you've been paying any attention, you know that this week coming, he is due to be installed, crowned, the supreme king of Saudi Arabia. But there in Riyadh, in addition to being told to, quote, accept Trump's peace plan or quit, end of quote, he was ordered to keep away from any Iranian influence. This came to us by way of Israel's TV Channel 10. The Saudi authorities made clear that they were dismayed by media images of Hamas's deputy political leader visiting Tehran just last month. Arouri, a Hamas terror chief, was the Hamas's signatory on the reconciliation deal with Abbas's Fatah group signed in Cairo last month. So his presence in Iran was troubling. Saudis also made it clear that Lebanese activists within Abbas's Fatah faction could no longer cooperate with the Iranian-backed Lebanese terror organization Hezbollah. Since then, the Palestinian media has displayed a rare degree of unity by coming out against Iran. The daily newspaper, for example, wrote that, quote, the Palestinian Authority will not allow Iran to interfere on its territory or try to create a Palestinian copy of Hezbollah. So what do we make of all that? Well, Saudi Arabia is a powerful ally and presumably authority in the lives and fortunes of the Palestinian Authority, indicated by the fact that they respond to whatever Saudi Arabia demands of them. It is fear that moved Abbas, not loyalty. And what does it mean in terms of Saudi Arabia's relationship with Israel? It appears the Saudis are major players in the fate of Israel, in large part with the money that they give these other groups. And despite their outwardly friendly attitude and behavior toward Israel, they are not Israel's friend. But the Saudis are frightened. They're frightened of Persia. We know it as Iran. Things are getting stirred up in the Middle East. Stay tuned.